Hello everyone, welcome to the Everything Dodgeball podcast. I'm your host Stefan Leitinger, and today I'm here with Alex Such, Mr. Dodgeball Central. I've gotten to get to know your work after the World Championships. I haven't known anything about Dodgeball Central before that, but I really enjoyed the work you did at Worlds, and you were so kind to reach out and send me some pictures. And I've been really enjoying them. I have them on my wall still and love the content you create. So I thought I just want to have a chat what you do in Dodgeball and how you got into this media production side of Dodgeball. So Alex, thank you so much for coming on this early in the morning. How are you doing, man?
Good morning. Thank you for having me. Nice to be here. I was admittedly spoke to my friends and said when your message came through, I was actually quite surprised. But no, it's great to be here. It's nice to kind of get to talk about it. And I think what I love about the podcast is you've been talking to so many different people from different backgrounds. You spoke to the referees. You spoke to the other gentleman that was making one of the documentaries at Worlds. Yeah. So I think it's great. I think often some people kind of get overlooked, and often, obviously, because I'm on the other end of the camera, it's always a bit interesting when I kind of step into the light a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. So obviously in the beginning, I was just thinking about Dodgeball and Dodgeball players. That was what came up first. But then like getting a bit deeper into it and talking to different people, I really felt like there is so much more to Dodgeball than just the playing aspect. And obviously I come from the playing side and I really enjoy that. And I really enjoy talking about this. But over the last 10 years, I've seen a lot of the other side as well, and all the work that goes into it and all the stuff that makes Dodgeball better and is so much more work and not so much fun. And I think people who do that side of Dodgeball are the most valuable people in the sport at this time. And so I'm really curious as to how people get into that sort of stuff, because the playing is quite obvious to me. And then if you're a player that you have your certain hobbies that you can put into the sport as well. But like, I haven't seen you as a player, you're probably playing, and I want to get a little bit into how you got into this whole thing. But so I've been really enjoying all these different conversations. And so I thought Dodgeball Central, that's the hottest media brand we have right now in the Dodgeball world, as far as I'm concerned. So I just wanted to get your words out there, and maybe people are interested in it. I definitely am. So Alex, how did you get into Dodgeball? Do you have a playing background? How did you get into media creation and all that stuff?
So I guess to start, how I got into Dodgeball was, I guess, especially in sort of the UK, for most people, it's just through university. So I went to the University of Nottingham, started in 2017, and my friends took me along to a taster session. I think it was like 10 a.m. on a Saturday morning. We'd gone out the night before. So it took a little bit of convincing, to be honest. I wasn't completely sort of up for it, but just ended up having a really fun time. And I very quickly fell in love with not just the sport, but I think just the club and the community. And it's one of the things that's kept me sort of in the sport over the years, is I think compared to other sports, the overall community, like across the whole country, I think it's just so great. Everyone, goes and talks to everyone. You have relationships with so many different people. I love the fact that, it's sort of not gender split. Like my club has always had, say sort of 60% men, 40% women kind of thing. Sometimes a little bit less. So I started university, started on my twos team. And then as I was going into my second year at uni, my friend at the club, Holly Gedling, who's currently the England Lions foam coach and player. So give her a little shout out. She's probably one of the reasons Dodge Central actually exists, because when we were she was the general secretary in my first year, which meant she kind of handled the club's social media. And when she was playing, no one else was taking photos. So I used to pick up her camera and try my best to take some snaps of the women playing. And I probably got one good photo out of about 100. But I just really enjoyed it. And as we were coming to the end of the year and nominations were coming out for the next sort of lot of committee, she basically pushed me and convinced me to go for general secretary so I would run the media the following year. And over the summer, I ended up purchasing my first camera and my first lens, and started just running the club's media alongside playing. And I've really enjoyed it. And then so much so, and like continued falling in love with the sport to the point that in my third year, I ended up being the president of the club, which was a great honour. Like Balls of Steel at University of Nottingham, I think it's arguably the longest running club, I think, in the UK. I think some existed before it, such as Warwick, maybe, and a few of the other teams like Average Joes and things, or Jammy Dodgers. But I think as the only team that's still sort of running, I think it's the longest running club. So it was an honour to be the president. And then unfortunately COVID hit, which put a bit of a long break in sort of my dodgeball career. But I then ended up working for British Dodgeball for a few years as their social media manager. And then as COVID came to an end, I ended up joining Leamington Spartans. And I've been playing on their men's twos team ever since. But admittedly, for the past year now, pretty much almost dead on, I've actually been out injured with a PCL tear. And I'd only been back playing for I think it was about 10 months from when I tore my MCL in my other knee. So whilst I like to say I play dodgeball, I haven't actually played that much in the past couple of years.
Okay.
But I think the silver lining to that has been that I've been able to focus on Dodge Central, which started about 2 years ago. I think it was in March of 2023. And although it was kind of a little bit of content here and there, I've really kind of, put my foot on the gas at the start of this year, just to try and grow the brand as much as possible and get as much content out as possible.
Okay, awesome. So you basically had no prior experience with media or photography and just tried it out and
Yeah.
got better at it. Okay, that is awesome. So you just found your hobby, and Holly is basically to blame for that.
Yeah, basically. Never
Awesome.
really kind of spoken to her about that, but yeah, realistically, I think Holly's one of the main reasons Dodge Central exists.
Perfect. Thank you, Holly, for pressuring Alex into doing something he probably didn't want to do at the first point. So I'm often on the other side and trying to get people to do
Yep.
stuff for dodgeball. So it's awesome that you did it, and that you found a liking to it and really made it something. So obviously it sucks that you're injured quite badly for a year now.
Mm.
So before the more of the media aspect to it, what were your aspirations as a dodgeball player? Did you just do it for fun? Did you really try to get better at it? And did that change once you started to get more into the media side of it?
So when I started playing at university, it was obviously purely just for fun. I had no idea kind of the levels it would go to as a sport. I was playing baseball alongside it, so I was kind of just trying to make the most possible out of university, and sort of try some new sports. I think because going to university is kind of, it's a once in a lifetime thing. I thought I may as well make the most of it. And admittedly, I wasn't. Whilst I like to think I'm competent at some of the more less niche sports such as football and sort of rugby and things, not quite good enough. And I've also admittedly got some long-term injuries that I've had for years. So I thought stick away from the more contact sports, and I ended up falling in love with dodgeball, play baseball alongside it. And for the first few years playing at uni, it was a way to sort of be active, a way that I was playing with my friends, because my friends in dodgeball ended up being some of the best friends I had at university. And admittedly, I'm quite a competitive person as well, so it was a perfect blend for me. So at university, at least, it was just about sort of having fun with friends, enjoying the sport. Played on the first team, had had decent success. Admittedly, we were injury plagued with injuries in the final season, but had an amazing time. And so when COVID ended up coming and going, Leamington Spartans ended up being the closest club to me as I was looking around. So I've reached out to Straubs or Mark Allen and asked if I could come along, which I ended up doing. And slowly, as the sort of return to play season from COVID happened, started finding my place in the club. And very quickly, I then started doing Spartan social media as well. So I've kind of, ever since I started doing it for Balls of Steel, I've kind of never really been able to kind of escape it. They've kind of been
Yeah.
intertwined, which sometimes makes both of them a little bit messy because I have to try and juggle playing with picking up the camera and trying to get some content and things. But when I joined Spartans, again, very quickly just fell in love with the club. A lot of the people there are like family to me now. They've been really supportive through a lot of my injuries and other things that have happened in life. So I think for me, it's dodgeball. It's very much a social aspect, but I've also, again, been very competitive over the years. Our twos team, we saw, I think it was back to back to back promotions to the Super League, which was amazing. We had, obviously you have lows at highs and lows, and then unfortunately I got injured pretty much 2 seasons in a row, which was a bit sad because whilst I didn't really think about playing for England because I knew I wasn't quite at that sort of level. My aspirations were more to try and play for the first team at Spartans at some point.
Mm.
And I played, at opens and things, but it's not quite the same as playing in the at National League with them. So that was my goal. And at one point, I was offered trials with England for the dev squad for the upcoming WECs that happened. And I was really thrilled for that. I was feeling quite confident in my sort of abilities. But then I think it was about a week before they were due to happen, I tore the MCL in my left knee. And Jen was actually fabulous. Jen Allen, who's currently manager of England, she kept saying, "Okay, we'll do your trial when you get back." But I think because obviously MCL tears and ligaments, they take so long to repair. I think that the time came and passed, unfortunately. And now I'm a little bit too old for the dev squad, and I'm not quite good enough for the senior squad, and obviously a little bit too broken.
Okay.
So I think my goal when I come back from injury anyway will just be to try and I guess fall in love with the sport again, because I've been out for quite a long time. I was very close to sort of just leaving the sport altogether and sort of leaving Dodge Central behind and things. But I think because I've given a lot of time, effort, money, everything to the sport, I feel like I owe it, one last shot playing wise. So I've been doing loads of physio, loads of strength training, and the plan is at the start of next season, just give absolutely everything I've got, work closely with the likes of Scotty Whitelaw, Ryan Neely, and hopefully just get into the best shape I've been in, but also just the best player I've been, and hopefully just see how I can perform, see how I can help the teams, and who knows, maybe finally break into that first team.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, that's all obviously a very tough story. Obviously, injuries are never fun in sport, but they are sort of a part of it, and seem to have taken more of it than others. So obviously, like 1 or 2 years out of the sport, that's really tough, but it's really awesome, and maybe speaks for the sport itself a little bit that you stuck to it in some way, and the community probably as well. So yeah, I hope you're gonna get back into playing and find the fun in it again. But in the meantime, it's awesome that you do the stuff you do, and probably it's for the best in the long run. Dodgeball can be quite happy in the end that you had a little bit more time on your hands for the other side. So Alex, what do you do? What is like, you obviously did the pictures at Worlds, which was the first time I really got to enjoy your work. And from then on out. So when did you really start making those pictures and doing photography for tournaments or league days and stuff like that?
Yeah. So as I said, when I picked up my sort of first camera at university, I was doing it for the club quite frequently at most events, and because I was kind of enjoying it so much, I started branching out to other sports at university. So I had quite a few friends in different sports, such as rowing and squash and things. So as the sort of years went on, mainly my final year, because I started getting a bit adding some more equipment to my backpack. Started doing more sports, took part in sort of books, which is sort of the main sort of university sports competitions throughout the UK. And that was brilliant. Really enjoyed it. And then, so obviously, just before COVID hit, I took photos at one of the national leagues for British Dodgeball, just as sort of a freelancer, and was just really enjoying it. And it was over COVID, I ended up taking the complete career U-turn from studying psychology at university to really trying to chase after doing some form of sort of digital media, whether it be sort of graphics, photo, video, as not just a hobby, but actually trying to make it a career as well. And that's when I ended up seeing British Dodgeball were applying for a social media manager. And as I looked through the sort of job description, it was the exact same as what I was doing for Balls of Steel, basically. Although events weren't quite on yet, I knew they'd be coming at some point. And sort of in preparation for that, I ended up working a second job alongside it. And I think I was doing sort of 70, sometimes 80-hour weeks, and admittedly making myself a little bit too unwell for a few months. But I ended up saving up enough money to be able to spend quite a lot of money on some new equipment. And then when the events restarted, it was kind of, I guess, it was my job basically to actually take photos and videos at events, and I was really enjoying it. And then when it came around with Spartans, that's where I could put more of a more personal touch on it, because obviously for British Dodgeball, it had to be quite professional. Certain sort of brands and guidelines I had to kind of stick to. Whereas with Spartans, I could be a bit more creative and started making all the team sheets, the MVPs, and just trying to get out sort of consistent sort of level of content on Spartans channels. And got great reception both within the club and outside of it. And one of my friends pointed out that as Spartans were continuing to do it slowly, other clubs started to put more of a consistent effort into some of their social media channels. And I think it's something that's always been quite difficult because I'm sure you know more than anyone, everything we do in the sport is just 99% of the time it's all volunteer based, and it's a lot of commitment, time, money. It's not easy to sort of be in dodgeball long term, realistically, especially as we get older and you're trying to think about jobs or you're trying to think about family. So I completely understand it. But with Spawns, I was just trying to put out really good content, which I really enjoyed. And then, as I say, in 2023, at the start of the year, I started having, I guess, creative differences with British Dodgeball and the managing director. So we ended up parting ways, and that's when I started doing the live streams with Dodge Central at events, because I knew that people loved them realistically, and it was one of the best ways to get content of the sport out. And I thought, just because I'm leaving the company doesn't mean the content should stop. I don't think that was fair on the players. So I continued to sort of run the live stream with some help of other individuals, and Dodge Central ended up coming into being. So I didn't want to just post it on my page, like my individual page. Obviously, it shouldn't just go out on Spartans. It was for everyone, basically. So after months of working on branding and trying to decide on a name, we eventually stuck around with Dodge Central just because we want it to be, I guess, unbiased, not just for one specific thing. It was just, or what it's hopefully going to be at some point, it's just a central place for all dodgeball content within the world, hopefully one day. So obviously starting in the UK, slowly now hopefully branching out into Europe with some other things I guess we might talk about in a bit. And yeah, it's just kind of been going from there. And it started by just trying to do the live streams, put out other media, and then gradually it's turned into something much sort of bigger. And whilst the page is still somewhat small, we're growing at quite a decent rate. And what I like to think is we're gaining a nice kind of trust and relationship with the community as well, which is nice. And I've gained quite a good relationship with the international teams as well. Because a few years ago at the Netherlands Euros, just beforehand, I actually got in touch with Jen to ask about making a documentary, which is actually what's going to be what I've started to tease on the Dodge Central channels at the moment. And the whole reason behind that is I just really want to, I guess, tell the story of the players and the staff and everything that you don't see on court. I think, especially England, have a little bit of a bad reputation sometimes with other nations, especially if the years have gone on. And I think it's sometimes easy to forget the human side of the players and the overall sort of organisation. So what I'm trying to do with Dodge Central really is not just grow sort of the online profile of the sport, but really tell the stories of the players and sort of the people. As it's been, as I say, as everything's sort of volunteer based, I think it's nice for people to have their sort of story told.
So basically, you said you started the documentary in 2022, or you reached out in 2022?
Yeah, so
drafting.
I started it in 2022, basically.
Okay.
It's been a very long process. I think basically because I'm obviously I have a full-time job outside of dodgeball. It's sometimes quite hard to spend as much time on it as I want to, because originally it was supposed to just be a documentary about sort of Dracton, but because I was a little bit too busy and admittedly procrastinated on other dodgeball content a little bit too much, it ended up kind of getting slowly pushed away. And because there was never really an actual deadline, because obviously I wasn't being paid to do it, I wasn't doing it for anyone else, it was just for me. I was sort of the whole sort of producer. The deadline just kept slowly getting pushed back. And then all of a sudden, we had another European Championships. And I was like, Christ, okay. So obviously in 2023, we had the Croatia, which Graz was that in? I want to say.
Osijek.
Oh yeah, Aussie Czech. Yeah,
Yeah.
I landed in Graz.
Yeah. That is
But
still a long way to go.
yeah. So I obviously then followed England there as well, and it's now basically a multi-year, multi-euro kind of documentary, where it's the sort of throughout the documentary, it's looking back on Dracton and on sort of previous years with England, and as we sort of, and then it goes through sort of the timeline of building up to Croatia and sort of then actually going through that tournament itself.
Mhm.
So, following all three teams, I was, taking photos because it's great for England to have the photos to use and post. Admittedly, they haven't actually posted a lot of them, which is a little sad, but it's something we're trying to work on.
Okay.
But yeah, so and the whole thing is, I guess it's a bit of a redemption story, and just trying to put some limelight on what actually goes into trying to run a national team, and sort of the sacrifices people go through, and sort of the human side of it, like really show the emotions. And I think that's something in dodgeball that hasn't really existed much, is that side of the sport. You see the generic highlights, courtesy of dodgeball highlights, especially, and you see all those moments of the sport. But something that I really want to do, while showing all the the good side of things as well, is I really want to show the human element of the sport, and that's going to include highs, but that's also going to include a lot of lows as well. And obviously, at the end of the day, there can only be one winner in the tournament, and obviously England were knocked out early in the men's. Were excruciatingly close to your own team in the mixed, devastatingly so. And then obviously, sort of, I guess, at least for England, history was kind of made. They finally defeated your Eagles. Took them a few years, shall we say, but it's kind of made that kind of perfect ending for my documentary. I've got that sort of it kind of the crescendo
Yeah,
of the documentary, and I've also then got obviously the fact with Alice Bontignori, who was the unfortunate player that was hit out in the sudden death and mixed.
yeah,
Not 5 minutes later, back in the huddle with the mixed team ready. With the women's team ready to go into the next final, and obviously she was devastated at the end of the first game, and then when she was back in the huddle, it's as if she hadn't played yet, like nothing had happened. And she played an absolutely phenomenal game, had a huge moment in one of the sets in the second half. And I admittedly, when that final whistle went, I was in tears as well. I think because I've spent a few years now following the squad, I've gotten quite attached to the teams. I see the work that they go through. I kind of invest a lot of emotion into it myself, and it was amazing. The scenes was just absolutely brilliant. So I'm very excited to finally be kind of telling that story. It's been a very long time coming, and the reason it's finally coming out, admittedly, because I again kept pushing it back, is obviously the fact we've got the next European Championships in a couple months. So I was like, okay, well, it can't come out after then. So that's why it's kind of really suddenly, okay, let's go. Let's get it out. So
okay,
that's the plan. It'll be coming out sort of mid-June, just before Euros, basically. But yeah, the whole part of Dodge Central is just to put more eyes on the sport and really showcase, yes, the sporting sort of moments and the highlights and the skills, but also everything else that goes into it, from referees to coaches to the highs and the lows. And that's why as well I started, obviously at Euros it was sort of just following England, but at Worlds I've started working with some of the other national teams such as Wales and or Northern Ireland. And I thought, whilst I'm there, I may as well take as many photos as possible of other nations too, because it's I'm there, I may as well do so. And I spent a long time in post production afterwards, and then obviously got them sent out to everyone. But the reception again was really fantastic. Everyone was really appreciative, and I think a lot of good media doesn't often exist for dodgeball, especially in some of the smaller countries. So since I've spent all the money on fancy equipment, I feel like I should use that to try and give back to the sport. And that's why I take photos as much as possible, because the only way the sport's going to grow is if it's seen online as much as possible. So I try and just give all the content out as much as possible so clubs can then use it to promote themselves, and hopefully it means the sport will just continue to grow.
mhm. Yeah, that is absolutely great. So I think that is so important for the sport and the game, and it is always I think the sport and pretty much every grassroots sport lives throughout people like you who really put their whole time and money and energy into
Yeah.
projects like this, and which the whole sport can sort of feed off, and also see an example of someone who does that kind of stuff, does it with a really high standard of professionalism, and then maybe copy it, maybe find some new ideas of it, and as you said, make the whole sport grow. So obviously you put a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of effort into this over the last few years. So what is it like your long-term plan, or what do you want Dodgeball Central to become, and what is like your day job at the moment, and what
Mhm.
do you want it to be like in, say, 3 or 5 years?
Uh, so yeah, I think one of the biggest things I'm having to kind of, especially at the moment, so I'm currently coming to the end of my contract at my current job, which I'm currently working at Birmingham City Council, for the Lord Mayor of Birmingham, kind of just running his sort of social media and helping with press and things. And It's because of whilst I did psychology at university, I've never had that actual qualification when it comes to sort of content creation and media, social management. Um, so I've been earning qualification for the past sort of year and a half, which I've now got. So I'm actually currently now looking for a new job, which I'm hoping will be within sport, because I'm very much driven and motivated. I'm very passionate about sport and um, the emotions and sort of stories that can be told from it. Like just from watching it events, there are many times where I don't actually capture a moment that's happened because I myself, as a spectator, I'm watching it and I end up losing my mind. I'm like, oh my God, that was amazing. And then someone was like, oh my God, Alex, you got that right. And I'm like, no, um, my bad. I was a little bit distracted. And so I'm hoping to sort of go into sport. But the thing I need to kind of balance is a lot of sports obviously happen outside of normal work time, which is obviously when dodgeball happens. So that's something I'm currently trying to balance,
Yeah.
because I would love if I could make sort of dodgeball and Dodge Central my full-time job, but unfortunately, at the moment at least, the money obviously just isn't there. And I don't do it for the money aspect, which is obviously why I'm still doing it. 'Cause I don't actually think Dodge Central hasn't made a single penny, which I think a lot of people don't quite realise. I think a lot of people think I get funding through the content I make, or I get paid by the international teams or something, but it's admittedly all just kind of been off my own back, whether all the travel expenses, accommodation and things. But I do it because obviously I love it. I love the sport, and I do love making the content. But it's also because I love the sport so much, I just want to see it grow, and I want to tell the stories involved. So um, the whole plan for Dodge Central is for it to grow as big as possible, where it continues doing what it's currently doing, in that it's putting content out about the regular season, putting out photos, putting out highlights, just your more general sort of sports coverage. But I really want it to grow into something where I am telling those stories a lot more. Like we've got those big projects always ongoing. Um, like the documentary of England is just stage one basically. I've got a lot more things planned. Got more educational things planned, more fun things planned. Got more stories to tell on a more individual, more personal level as well. And I guess the plan for Dodge Central is, especially what I'm starting to do over the next sort of year or two, is cover outside the UK a lot more as well. But the main limiting factor to that is that it is just me at the end of the day, and there's only so much I can do, especially when I have a full-time job. So I want Dodge Central to be at the stage where it's putting on events for people, whether it be competitive or sort of charity events, really sort of bring the community together, and sort of help remind people why they fell in love with the sport. But also obviously have those competitive events as well, where you can really showcase the sport at sort of the highest level. So the plan anyway is to try and get the brand as big as possible, because if the brand can get bigger, I can then hopefully get sponsorships for events, make the events bigger, and just get more eyes on the sport basically. And hopefully one day I can start adding more people into the team, um, and try and just get more content out there. It's just obviously the biggest thing is always just the commitment. It's hard to ask people to spend a lot of time, especially for free, to dedicate themselves to something which isn't quite theirs. So yeah, whilst I would love DOS Central to make money, and to be my full-time job, it's not going to be that case for a very long time. So the current plan is just put out documentaries, more tell the stories of players, of teams, and yeah, I think as you said, I guess be an example to other people. I think sometimes it just takes other people to really put that effort in. Like my friend James at Dodgeball Highlights. I think you see people now a lot more, especially in the UK, putting out highlights even at their university club, and it helps them grow. So it's really set an example, and hopefully Dodge Central can just be that kind of breakthrough point where it just kind of becomes a norm. As realistically, that's the only way the sport is going to grow. Social media is such an important part of life nowadays. So yeah, I'm rambling on for far too long. You'll have to interject at some point.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
But
Yeah, okay. So I think because all what you said, what you did, that is basically a part that I really not very talented or like pretty much I don't love doing that stuff, but I think, as you said, it is really important, and to try to grow the whole thing, it's probably the most important thing at the moment. And so I've been trying to put out a little bit more reels, trying to film a bit more, but obviously can't do it all myself, and I have zero skill at it, and also not the time to get better like you. And so I try to always do a little bit of on the side. So for the last few league days, I had my GoPro along, and we just filmed a bit of stuff and tried to get a few highlights of that. Because the thing is, the awesome thing in Austria is we have Max Golder who does the stream, and our streaming quality is really good. But the thing still, to make highlight reels of that is sort of a skill, like Dodgeball Highlight does. And I know he put out a tutorial where he said it's really easy to do it, like da 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 da, and it went on for way too long for me personally. So I was like, okay, it's really easy. And then I watched it and was like, okay, it's really easy for someone who knows shit about this stuff. So it's not easy for me. So I'm trying to do my little reels on my phone for Instagram, and which is kind of fun to do that in between. But we, as of yet, don't have anyone who is passionate about this and really takes over that side. So I hope we're going to get that in the future. And we have a lot of young players. Maybe someone finds their passion in media production, which would be really good. So on that point, maybe I just wanted to ask you, like, what have you learned over the last 8 years is the best way to produce dodgeball footage, whether it's pictures, whether it's film, whether it's highlight reels? Because I feel like if someone who doesn't know shit like me tries to take photos or stuff of dodgeball, they're coming out like worthless, basically. And it's not that easy. Just point the camera and shoot doesn't really work for dodgeball, as I found out. So what are like tips for laypersons or beginners? What should they focus on in creating good moments in dodgeball and also video content?
Yeah. So one of the hardest parts about capturing content for our sport is that it's an indoor sport. So without getting sort of too technical, when it comes to taking photos and videos, the way cameras work is they need a lot of light. So outdoor sports, you could probably use your phone and you can get some nice shots. Whereas as you go indoors, due to sort of the size of the sensor and how much light is available, it massively lowers the quality of the photos you can have. And because it's not because it's indoors, you get less light. But because obviously we're a sport and everything's moving really fast, you need your shutter, which is basically your shutter speed is how quick your camera will open and close. And the quicker that happens, the faster a photo it can take, basically. So if you're trying to take a photo of Usain Bolt sprinting, you need a really quick shutter. Whereas if it's just yourself standing still, there's not a lot of motion, so you can slow the shutter down, and let more light in, because the quicker it opens and closes, the less light is going to be on the sensor of the camera. Mm-hmm. So the two parts that immediately make it harder is that you're indoors and it's a fast-moving sport. So your settings become quite difficult. So that's why, admittedly, I've spent a lot of money on equipment, because it does make life easier. But the ways that, especially at the start, the ways you can kind of get around that, it's finding, when it comes to photos at least, finding the moments in the sport where there's less motion. Because although, at least now, I try and capture the more dynamic parts of the sport, the time you'll normally get nice looking photos, especially of players where they're not pulling some sort of funny face because they're being thrown at, they're throwing or trying to make a catch, it's usually when they're coming up the court. It's about a second before they actually throw the ball. Because that's when players are usually up straight, their chest is slightly to the side because they're about to throw. And if you're just on that side of the court, about 3/4 up, and you're just right next to them, you can usually get a nice looking shot because they're moving fairly slow. You can usually see their teammates in the background, so you can kind of fill the whole frame. And it makes life a little bit easier in that regard. And I think it's showing the emotion as well. Like a lot of my better performing photos aren't just a generic action shot. It's actually when people are celebrating. And if you can capture those moments that really sort of show the emotion, that's what people can kind of really get behind. Like when people go to the cinema, it's, yeah, obviously, you go and watch the action, but the thing that people really get stuck with is the emotions that it gives them. So if you can show that emotion, you've really kind of will get your audience engaging with your content a lot more. Like as they say, a picture can tell 1,000 stories. Like someone just throwing a ball is going to look the same as any other photo of someone throwing a ball. If you can capture those unique moments where it's someone celebrating, someone like deep in thought, anything like that, that's when it really gets people thinking about it a lot more. And then obviously on the video side of things, it's obviously quite difficult in our sport because, as you say, while some countries are a bit more fortunate and have good streaming setups, some people don't. Usually the easiest way is what most people do is they just buy a GoPro. GoPros, they're fairly cheap alternatives. Obviously, they're still an investment. But in America, a lot of people, they actually just get their phone, put it on the back wall, and sellotape it there, which seems really risky to me. But it seems to work for them. And I guess the tips for video would just be, at least if you, especially when you sort of don't have high quality equipment, it's either trying to show the entire court. So, as you say, putting a GoPro up, putting a phone up, and really showcasing the entire court, because obviously, such as tennis, it in any sort of any moment or any play of the game, most of the court is being used because the ball is traveling across both sides of the court. So I'd say it's usually trying to get a bit higher up helps, because obviously there's a lot of players. There's an outbox. You've got 6 referees. You've got 4 to 6 ball retrievers. There's a lot of people in the way in our sport in a very small court. So getting slightly higher, trying to get to the side, I think really helps. And especially following Dodge highlights example, when it comes to actually making the clips, you don't want them to be too long. The way sort of the algorithm on social media works is no one has very good lengths of attention these days. So you usually want the clips to be, say, 7 to 10 sort of seconds long, roughly. You want to sort of just show that moment and then have the clip restart. Because if the clip can restart, it shows that people, and like they rewatch it, it helps trick the algorithm in social media into thinking that, oh, people really want to watch this. They're watching it numerous times. So it then shows it to more people. And it's all about those little things. And sometimes videos where more unique things happen, where you kind of have to watch it a second time to fully understand it, helps it obviously more because you watch it numerous times. So again, the algorithm is like, oh, people they love this video so much, they're willing to watch it numerous times. And therefore, we're keeping people on our app a lot longer. So therefore, we'll show it to more people. So more people are on our app for longer. That then usually really helps as well. So it's usually, at least sort of at the start, I think, rather than trying to spend too long on massive sort of video projects where you're asking people that have no idea about the sport to watch, like a 5-minute highlights montage or compilation from a tournament, just putting out those short, quick highlight reels really will help kind of push the sport. Like you see it with Dodgeball Show in America. He just puts out loads of little highlight clips of what he's done. They're not too long, but they're really popping off, doing really well. I've been loving your clips as well. I think they've been great. And I think sometimes showing that bit of humor as well. Because I think, as I say, one of the things I love about this sport is the community and the people within it. So anytime you can show again that human side of it, the human element, I think does really well as well, and it enables people to really kind of not necessarily empathize, but allows them to really connect with the content a bit more, find it a bit funnier, find it a bit more engaging. So it's trying to find the unique angles basically, and admittedly often you do get those side court as well. I've spent a lot of my time just sat on the very side of court, just watching things happen. And the more time you spend around the court, the more time you spend in the sport, you can kind of predict what's going to happen, and kind of go from there. But I would also kind of say, admittedly, sometimes it's just a bit of an investment. If you really want to get into it, it's spend a little bit of money, and try and go from there. But I think the starting point would probably be a GoPro. If your club can get a GoPro, there's a lot of video content you can start making with that, rather than trying to buy a massive camera and lenses like I have. I think a GoPro is a good starting point. Enables you to kind of cover a whole court at once, and then you can crop the footage sort of from there.
Yeah. Okay, that's basically what I'm doing at the moment.
Yeah.
And I think it works. It's much better than the stream, because I think if you have too much going on in a video, or that's just personal opinion and experience, if I see a clip and there's just too much going on and I really have to figure out what am I even watching, then it's much harder to get interested in it. And what I really love about your clips, they're really slow motion. They're really zoomed into one person. You can see all the emotions, all the faces, all the decisions in the face, basically, which is so thrilling and exciting to see so close up, because that is, as you said, those emotions and those really personal experiences are what make it much more engaging and make it so interesting. And if you just see someone sniping off 5 people on a full court and you don't even know who is it, what's going on, then it's much less engaging. And especially on the streams, you often have not that good of a quality. So like that zoomed in stuff is what I've been trying to do a little bit more with the GoPro. But the problem with that is it's really hard to get those shots, because you're always filming in the wrong direction, even if you have a lot of experience. And that is something like finding the balance between those two. Like my personal setup for now is that I always tell people we have a little gimbal with the GoPro, and I just tell them to go as close on the action as possible and try to film someone continuously. And if something happens that is highlight worthy, then we just stop. So I know if the clip is 20 minutes long, I don't have to watch it and just skip to the last 10 seconds and see if there's something there, which is something that has been working semi good, because it's still a lot of footage. And that's, I think, the hardest thing about it, that it takes so much time. And especially you've done a documentary now, which is like an incredible amount of footage that you get. So getting the footage, that's actually quite easy. Obviously, if you have better equipment and you have time, that's much easier. But then actually getting something out of that footage, that's like the art of the whole thing. And so the more efficient you get on the first part, the better it is on the second part.
Exactly.
But how do you do that on that kind of level with a day job? Like that is like unsurmountable. Like I spend 1 or 2 hours after league day on the toilet trying to sift through clips, basically. And sometimes I'm lucky, sometimes not. But how do you get it more time efficient, basically?
Yeah. Completely agree with you. It's sometimes a bit of a lottery trying to get the highlights, because as you say, when it is on the stream or on a full court, you're probably going to get it. It's not a great angle, but you're going to get it. Whereas as you say, the content I've been trying to do is much higher quality, really just focusing on an individual play so you can see it in full detail. And I've missed a lot, admittedly. Like Dodge Central, it sometimes makes it look like I'm capturing everything. I'm really not. I miss a lot of stuff. As I say, sometimes I'm not recording because trying to do a 12-hour day isn't always that feasible. You need to kind of pace yourself a little bit. But sometimes when there's 5 balls on a court and 12 players who could be doing anything at any one moment, you're gonna miss things. It's really hard to kind of focus on one person. So two things that I've been doing lately to try and help with that is one, so a lot of the time I shoot in landscape. So although a lot of the highlight reels, obviously they go out in portrait mode, because my camera is like decent quality, I shoot in landscape so I can kind of watch 2, maybe 3 people at once. And then when it then comes to post-production, I can just crop on that one individual. So I kind of increase the chance the moment someone makes a catch, I'm a lot more likely to actually get that in frame. Sometimes the focus isn't always there because of like depth of field with the camera, but that definitely helps. But something that I've done, because I would come away from nationals with hours and hours of footage and loads of different clips, because I would kind of start, stop, and I would have like 1,000 just like 5, 10, 15-second clips, and I'm like, I have no idea where the actual highlights are. So something I do now is I delete as I go along. So I'll film one sort of phase of play, whether it be 5, 15, 20 seconds, and if I know something good hasn't happened, I just immediately delete the clip, immediately get rid of it, just so that way in post I don't have to worry about it. So, and I know that anything that's on the camera at the end of the day is usable content in one way, in one form or another. Usually in the busier games, when like with our highlight matches, say if it's for example Bedford Mighty Eagles against Derby Phantoms in the Women's Super League, sometimes because there's so many phases of play happening very quickly, I don't always delete those as I go, because as I'm deleting, I might miss something else. But I found that helps quite a lot. But then, as you say, there's still a lot of sort of post work that has to happen, which I think a lot of people don't always realize. Like I try and do a quick turnaround with the photo album from nationals, but I can usually take anywhere between 1,000 to 2,000 photos on a nationals day. And because I'm quite experienced at it now, I usually know how to get the good shots. I know what angles I need to be at, kind of thing. So I try not to take too many. I probably delete about a third of photos normally from a day. The rest are usually usable. But I usually get home from nationals at about, I think it's about 10:30 or something. Upload them into my computer, upload them into Lightroom, which is what I use to edit all the photos. And then the following morning, as it sort of syncs up to my iPad, I'll be sat on the train on the way to work, and I'll just start sifting through, deleting all the bad photos, and I just do one big cull, basically, and I just mark with an X every photo that I want to get rid of. Delete after I've gone through the entire day's worth. Delete all of those. I edit one photo for what looks good, and then I basically just copy and paste that setting across all the photos. Some venues that's not always the best option, because if you've got natural light coming in from windows, that natural light's going to change across the day, which is going to change how your photos look. But I do just have to spend a lot of time, a lot of free time, whether it's on the way to work. Admittedly, sometimes, as you say, it's on the toilet, or like whilst I'm watching a film or something in the evening or having dinner, I'll just be deleting photos or editing photos, and then the highlight clips as well. And it's just trying to do little bits here and there to really sort of make progress. But that's why, then the documentary becomes so much harder, because that's something that requires hours and hours of time, when I'm also trying to do all the photos and all the highlights, and it becomes quite difficult to juggle sometimes, especially when I'm trying to balance a social life, physio for my knee, or my job. But it's just trying to do little bits here and there, and the more you do it, the the quicker it becomes. As you say, you say you're not as skilled with it, but you're not as skilled with it yet. Like, it's the same with anything. It's the same as when people start dodgeball. You're at the start, you're not very good, and that's the same with anything. But the more time you put into it, you get better at every phase of the process. You get better at capturing the right moment because you kind of predict what's going to happen. So you can sort of be looking in the right place. You don't film too much because that just makes your job afterwards that much harder. You've got more footage to sort through, and then you know how you want to edit. You know exactly what you're looking for, and just gradually, the better you get at it, the more experienced, the quicker the whole sort of process ends up becoming. But obviously, there is still that investment of time you do kind of have to make.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, those are some usable tips and infos. And I think about them, what I'm going to use and what I'll try to delegate to other people. Okay, so jumping from that into another topic, which is like, what other projects are you currently working on, and what do you want to talk about, or
Yeah.
what can you talk about at this point?
Yeah, so admittedly, there's a couple things I can't really say too much on yet. But one of the biggest things that Dodge Central I'm working on for the next season is events. So far, we've just been making content from other people's sort of third-party events, whether it be British Dodgeball events, university club events such as the Boo Ball charity tournament, or obviously Euros and World Cup, where I work with the international teams, which is always a fantastic experience. But something that I really want to start doing is putting on my own events. This won't be to try and earn money or anything. It's just so I can kind of create the events that I think are missing within the sport. So a couple of them can't say too much about yet, but hopefully within the next few months we'll have some good updates on. But something I'm really working on is I want to put on a big charity tournament in November, which is going to be the world's longest dodgeball game. And I know it's been attempted a few times before. The record currently stands at about 41 and a half hours.
Okay.
And I think the unofficial record is about 43. But my plan is to go for at least 48. And so I'm currently working on venues, on dates. I'm waiting to hear back from Guinness World Records about the exact rules, because it might be I can only have 20 people, like 10 people per team, and it has to be those 10 people the entire time. If so, it definitely becomes a lot more challenging. But if there's a bit more leeway, I really want to try and get as many people involved as possible, like make it a community thing, get junior players involved, get university players involved, national, international, just get as many people involved as possible, raise hopefully a crap ton of money for charity, and at the same time it should hopefully raise the brand of the sport as well, because when you're doing something on a national scale, when you're raising a lot of money, when you're breaking a world record, it's just going to immediately pick up headlines and like hopefully get news people involved. So that's a big thing I'm working on for November with their help. So I've admittedly, with all these sort of event side of it, I do need a bit more help with it, especially whilst I'm trying to do the media at the same time. So trying to get a bit more help, but at the moment I've got the help of Meg Dixon from Wessex Wolves, who's very kindly sort of helping with set up the events at the start. So yeah, one of the projects is events. So we've got the big charity tournament, world's longest game. More information to come, hopefully. And then we're also looking to put on competitive events, both domestically and then hopefully on a much larger scale as well in the future. And the point of these events, as I say, is to fill the gap, but also because they'll be sort of run by Dodge Central, it means I know exactly what I can do. I can plan the content much more thoroughly, put out as much content as possible. I've just got full sort of flexibility. to just make as much as possible. And then one of the other projects, which is probably one I'm like very excited about, and I think a lot of the people involved are excited about, is actually something called DC Champions. Now, this is something that you know a little bit about yourself. So DC Champions is I don't know, is it an initiative, a group, a team? I'm not 100% sure on what it is, but it's basically I'm bringing together a like-minded group of people from hopefully all over Europe, predominantly in the UK, just because there'll be people that I can film with a lot easier, and have a much more of a sort of personal sort of relationship with. It's much easier to sort of just get to them, basically. But DC Champions, these people are going to be people that I think, for one reason or another, on or off the court, I think they're champions of our sport. And admittedly, majority of them are very highly skilled players, such as yourself. And the people that play internationally. And I'm trying to bring these people together for a few different reasons. One is sort of to help grow the brand of the sport in different countries. As I say, it's quite hard for me as an individual to make content about Northern Ireland, about Austria, about France. So the plan will be to have those individuals sort of making content, and then it can go out on Dodge Central, helping grow the sort of brand of the sport in different countries, helping put more eyes on different countries as well. Because I think a lot of the time there's actually really good content and really good events happening in, you know, the likes of the Netherlands or Sweden or something, and a lot of people just aren't always aware. So hopefully through this we can help put more eyes on things. But it's also, I think, the champions will be, what I want them to be is just role models and profiles, because I think as media is improving within dodgeball and the highlights are happening, and you know, as we've spoken about, you're putting in more the emotion and the human element. People still, at least people that, you know, don't go to Euros, people don't really know anyone. There's no, you know, there's no Cristiano Ronaldo. There's no I don't know, Lionel Messi. There's, you know, there's no big name for people to sort of know. And I think through creating these champions from all over Europe, it gives people to actually kind of follow, both on a club and international level, and just kind of, as I say, act as role models and sort of representatives of the sport, but really enable to have sort of these profiles and players to actually sort of follow their stories. So I like to think I've picked a pretty good group of people so far, and still a few more people I need to ask. But the plan will be to work with these people, for them to make content and give it to me, but also for me to make content with them. So I say at club level, when it comes to UK players, it's really easy for me to follow them, create content throughout the season. But then at European Championships and Worlds, I'm going to work with these players and create almost like mini documentaries about these players. So I think I've already asked a couple, and I think I've asked yourself already. But I'd really love to sort of follow you at Euros in June. To tell your story at that event, but also go into your story outside of that event, both within dodgeball as a whole, but also what happens off the court. You know, you've got a family, which is obviously like the biggest commitment that can happen, that you can have in life, and trying to juggle that alongside dodgeball, I'm assuming, is not an easy task. And I think a lot of people, you know, just not aware of that. A lot of, and those, as I say, those side of things aren't really shown. So I think being able to sort of tell those stories and put these role models out there, I think will hopefully help, as they just hope, grow the sport and act as an example for other people. And the plan will hopefully be to enter some competitions with this team of champions as well. They'll probably hopefully do quite well, because I'll say they're pretty talented individuals. But I think the primary goal will just be have a good time, keep people loving the sport, demonstrate why we do actually play it, and just make loads of really fun content. I've got some really, really exciting things planned for content-wise with them. And so there'll be much more official sort of announcements for that over the next sort of month or two. But yeah, the main projects are events, which will be starting next season, and then the DC Champions, which is as a group of individuals who are really talented and I think really important people that we have in our sport.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean that personally also I talked to you about this before when you reached out, and I think that is really incredible. I love like the personal aspect of the game. I think that is something you really focus on, and I think that is the most important thing to get people really engaged. And that is something that you can do quite effectively over social media. And yeah, so I think that's a really incredible, cool idea. I'm really honored and thankful that I can be a part of that, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm always really interested in how those initiatives and stuff kind of go, and if I can do anything to help along and give a little time and a little bit of my passion and experience to that, then I'm all here for it. And seeing your production over the last years, I think it's going to be quite awesome. You just
Hopefully, yeah.
showed me the kit, and I personally already in love with it, so can't wait to wear that at some point. And I think like the whole social and community aspect of it is a really important point that gets a lot more people involved and excited about the whole thing. And getting to know those personal stories is something that like increases engagement so much, at least for me personally that is. So I think that is really cool. And yeah, I hope your platform keeps growing. I hope this maybe help a little bit push it in some other direction, not some other direction, just maybe get it out there even more, maybe help you with some crowdfunding or something if you finally need some money for stuff, because you apparently have a lot of great ideas and you're willing to put in the time. So I think that is something the dodgeball community will always get behind. So maybe in the future, if you have some specific projects, you just need to get a little bit of money from dodgeball players or people that are involved. Maybe that's a way to get a little bit of funding before the brand is big enough to get some advertisement or sponsorship stuff. Yeah, and I personally really can't wait to see that England documentary and then everything that follows. And yeah, and hopefully see each other in Limerick and have a great time there, create some memorable content, and I'll try to work on our side of the content creation and try to follow your example basically and get some quality stuff out there, because that's something I think everyone can do. And as you said, there are a lot of nations who probably aren't doing that much in this direction at this point, which I think is a lot of potential that we can tap into. So you're leading the way in that. Um, I'm thankful as a part of the community and as a player and just someone who enjoys the whole thing, that someone invests that much time, money, effort, and life basically into a project like this. So thank you from me and from the dodgeball community for your sport, for your work, and
Thank you.
also the content and the photos. I mean, I've been using them for the podcast for every guest I had. If you got pictures of them, and that is I think those pictures really are so important for the players. At least it's not
100%.
so if you've been to an event, if you played a league day and you see a really well processed picture of the emotions you had, that's something. I have those pictures in my living room from the World Cup, from those final moments, from those really emotional moments, and there are so many of those pictures. I see them every day, and it really just puts me right back to that moment. And I love them. So they're
Oh, I'm glad.
incredibly valuable for me personally. I look completely wasted on them. I think I've never been more dehydrated in my life. So personally, when I see them, I'm just in that moment, back in that situation, just completely stoked. And when people see them for the first time, they're like, "Oh, you look shit in those pictures," and I don't even see that. I'm just right back there. But um, yeah, it's tough to make dodgeballers look pretty in action. So
It
I've
is.
got a
Yeah,
lot of
it is.
pictures of myself, and like the hands are in weird position. As you said, the faces are just incredible. Everyone has their unique, I don't know,
Game face.
expression. Yeah, let's call it a game face. And it's very seldom that people have pretty ones, but I think that is so raw and something you can really appreciate. And even though it maybe is not as pretty, but that's something people enjoy watching. And like
Yeah.
the slow-mo videos you do, there's so much you can just watch the face basically and just see um uh a whole spectrum of emotions there, and it doesn't even matter what the play is. It's just fun to watch that. And so yeah, I think that is a really important part. It's really a lot of time. Making good photos is just a lot of time investment, and it seems so
Yeah.
easy, and it's basically just uh, go there and make pictures, but the post-production and everything is just a complete headache. So I commend you for that. Thank
Thank you.
you. Thank you for coming on. This has
No,
been
thank you
really
for
fun.
having me. It's been a pleasure, and I think, as you say, I think a lot of people just don't always sort of just aren't aware of the work it takes. I mean, I think at Worlds, like as you say, like for people to have those moments, it means a lot. Yes, you have the memories, but seeing the photos, it always just brings back a lot. As you say, a photo, can tell a thousand words, and I think at the international events. It's not every day you're playing for your country. So I usually just try and take a photo of everyone because I think you've made it. You deserve to have something. To be able to look and be like, I played for my country. So that's usually why I try and take a photo of everyone. But I think the week of Worlds, I did about 80 hours worth of work, and then in the post production, probably was spending over 12 hours at least every week just editing the photos. And so it's a lot of work, but I think the nicest thing is that lately I've been getting a lot of positive feedback from a lot of different people, which has been really nice. It's good motivation to kind of keep going, and that I know that people do appreciate it. And I should say that being invited on the podcast was a very nice, very wholesome surprise. So I appreciate you having me on, and hopefully I do look forward to working with you some more in the future.
For sure. Awesome, man. So for everyone out there who's been listening up to this point, give Alex a compliment if he takes a nice picture of you, because that's basically all we can give him at this point, and he deserves more than that, but that goes a long way. And I think everyone knows if you put a lot of effort in, if people see it, that is just something that keeps you motivated, and we need to keep Alex motivated. So thank you again for everything. Thanks for coming on the podcast. This has
Thank you
been
for having
fun,
me.
and I'm looking forward to everything you're gonna do in the future and everything we're gonna be working together on. So with that, keep throwing those balls, try not to get caught, and take care, everyone. All right.
Fantastic.